Okay, well, I hope you've been enjoying these lessons here. This is 12-bar blues, and I'd like to give you just one of many, many examples of 12-bar blues. This is a very simple one, and I purposely didn't write the right-hand fingerings in here. I want you to try and use your imagination and see if you can sort of stick to that rule of when things are in position 1, 2, or 3. In this particular case, we're mostly just dealing with fingers in the first position. And as you can see here, there are some notes in parentheses, and those are optional notes. So you can either leave them out or put them in to flesh it out. So I'll show you each measure one at a time here. We'll talk about the chords, which I've written below. You have like an E7th, A7th, E7th. So that's what 12-bar blues is. You have, you know, a 1 chord, then a 4 chord, then a 1, then a 1, then a 4, then a 4, then a 1, and then here's a B7th. We go to our 5 chord. So as we navigate through this, and I'll play this all for you in a minute, you'll see that it's 12 measures. So let's take a look at one at a time. So that first measure is just a simple. Now I've talked earlier about that finger substitution idea, where I don't like to use the same finger twice in a row, but I also said that when you're dealing with, say, eighth notes, see, when I have this 3 and 0 here, those two notes, that's a D and a B, I normally could go M, play that 3 with my M finger, and then borrow my A finger up because my index wants to be playing on 3 here, that third string. But for me, it's just simpler to use M twice in a row in that particular case. It's not that big of an issue. But you can do it either way. I'd encourage you actually to try and maybe play M and then follow it with A. But for now, I'll go M and M. So the first measure just goes. I'll play that a few times for you. Okay, now what happens here is we go from an E7th to an A7th, or that's actually an A. But when I add that 3 there, if you remember your chords, that presents an A7th to you. So technically it's an A here, it's an A7th right there, then it goes back to an A. And I'll use my left-hand pinky to catch that 3 on A. And I showed you the A7th before where you would do a bar and add your second finger on the 3rd fret first string. But in this case, stay in your A form, just drop your pinky down for that 3. And let's see what's going on right here. I'll play that for you. Same case, I wanted to mention to you, I use A twice in a row here because it's not slowing my tempo down. One thing I want to remind you of too is when we go from this E to the A, remember that transitional thing I showed you earlier where you want your index finger to slide from fret 1 on string 3 to fret 2 on string 3, so you're making a smoother transition here instead of lifting every finger. So let's try that A7th on its own. Then once again, when I'm transferring from this A back to the E, I'm going to slide my index finger back. And then just so you can see something different, I'll add that optional note in there. Just a little subtle thing that fleshes it out for you. And you can see that I'm using I and M to play that pair there. Okay? And then actually in this next measure here, it's basically the same thing. Same thing for your A over here, so I gave you something simple to work with. And then we have, now when we go to this B7th down here, you'll notice that we're going from the E. With the E chord, my left-hand second finger is on the 5th string, 2nd fret. When I go to this B7th, it acts as an anchor or a pivot finger, so it stays in place. And I want you to notice here, your left-hand second finger is on string 5, fret 2, but I want you to jump it up to string 6, fret 2 here. So it's going to be sort of an alternating movement of your left-hand bass. It's going to bounce from string 5 to string 6. And that just goes. I'll play that a few times for you. Okay, so make sure that you notice when I'm playing, and you take a look at my left hand in a second here on that B7th. Watch how this goes from there to there. Okay, and then just moving along to the next page here, we can see that we're going to be taking a look back at an A7th, which is what we've been doing before, and then it goes on to an E7th here, but I have a slight pinky movement of my left hand fourth finger on fret 3, string 2, and it's going to slide back 1 fret. Gives a little bit of melody there. And then you go to your B7th, and then after your B7th it just tails off because you can repeat it. And a lot of times on blues, people will, when they go back in, that's when they start playing all kinds of variations. So let's just take a look at measures 11 and 12 here, and I'll go from this E7th to the B7th, and that would go. I'll do it again. Okay, now let's take a look at how the whole thing sounds put together.